Continue what's been a strong start to life with the Cannons in season 2021. There'll also be a back four and the traditional 4-3-3 for Oakleigh this evening. Back four will be made up of Tom Matthews, Oscar Dillon, Lucas Portelli and Hamish Miller. In midfield, Oliver Kubelet partners Joe Guest and Matt Fascini. And the front three is the tried, tested and reliable one of Wade Decker, Joe Knowles and the poacher extraordinaire, Matt Thurtell. So two very strong lineups named for both sides this evening, and we're hoping for a good game of football.
And a few players in the Oakleigh lineup that have donned the greens of Bentleigh in the past. Tyson Holmes, Matt Thurtell in the number 18. So expect a good battle tonight between the man and the ball now, Jack Webster, the captain for Bentleigh, and the man he's marking, his former striker in Matty Thurtell, as Bentleigh do go in a great attacking position. Out wide, they turn it over. Comes out through Joey Guest. It goes back and up line looking for Thurtell. Some strong work by Jack Webster. And it is a Southeast derby tonight, Lockie. It's a Greek derby as well, so it's always a tight affair down here, either at Oakleigh or Bentleigh. What are you expecting from tonight's match?
Well, I think Bentleigh and Nick Tolios could take a lot of pleasing signs out of their performance on Sunday against Heidelberg. Of course, the weather did play havoc in that one. It was blowing an absolute gale to the right-hand side of screen here at Kingston Heath. But they drew that game 1-1 in the end, but Bentleigh really had enough chances to win that game by 3 or 4 goals. Even in that first half, they were creating plenty. Braden Crowley will probably rue the fact that he had a hat-trick of missed chances on the game on Sunday, and will probably be hoping to change that. And if he's got his finishing boots on, maybe Bentleigh can get away early. I still think Oakleigh are the form side and are the favourites in this one. Unbeaten in their last 5, one of the strong teams. We were always waiting for them to click into gear, and it looks like they're finally stringing things together. They are one of the best teams at just sort of ticking along, getting those points on the board. So I do think they are favourites. But yeah, as you said, a couple of players coming up against their old sides this evening, which hopefully brings a little bit of fire into the game.
There's a great surface here, as always, and it's 2 ball-playing teams as well, so should see a pretty good spectacle. There's also 3 other matches on tonight. Tough time over at Knights Stadium. 1-0 in favour of the Melbourne Knights over Altona Magic, courtesy of a goal to Alan Webb, adding to his goal tally in the 29th minute. Plus, we've also got Port Melbourne up 1-0 in the 35th minute against Avondale over at Port Melbourne. Plus, starting in 10 minutes, Dandenong City and Green Gully. So plenty of football on tonight. You can chop and change through all the games, but this one is definitely going to be a cracker. So stick around as we see Joey Guest win the ball for Oakleigh and drive forward with it. The current gold medal player for Football Victoria, also known as the best in Melbourne at the moment. So keep an eye on him tonight if you're watching Oakleigh for the first time, as they come out wide through their captain in Matthews. He drives forward. He's got some space to work with. Does well with Fascini. They come central. And some good defensive work from the Bentleigh Greens, finding Crowley in a strong challenge on Oscar Dillon. Now, if you haven't seen Oscar Dillon play in the previous weeks, a young defender from the Gold Coast, spent some time with Western United at the back end of last season, and he's definitely one to keep an eye out for, isn't he, Lockie?
Not only is he one to keep an eye out for in terms of his playing ability, but also in terms of his personality. I'm willing, even this early into the season, this early into his time in the league, to call him one of the best characters in the NPL Victoria. He's got this cracking sort of mohawk-style haircut, and just is known for having a pop from distance, and not being afraid to chat to his opponents and to the referee and all that sort of stuff. And it definitely, as a commentator, when you can hear those sort of things, it keeps you entertained. The best moment I've seen from him a couple of weeks ago at Dandenong City, about 10 minutes into the game, he must have had a bit of Gatorade coming up out of the stomach, because he just ripped this massive burp in the middle of the back four when there was complete silence over Frank Holohan reserve. And he plays with no fear, and he behaves with no fear, and I think we'll see plenty fearless defending from him over the course of this 90.
Fun fact too, when he made the move south to play for Western United, Mark Rudin made him lose the mullet as well. So he was sporting a great haircut in Melbourne terms, but he's lost, and slowly looks like it's coming back as we get back to play. And Bentleigh do go down in front of the Oakleigh Cannons bench. They turn it over, and some good defending there from the Cannons as they decide to go across the field to their captain. He's got plenty of room to move forward on this near side. Goes for a long ball up the line. It's a good one as well. And the chance for the ball to come across. It's a good cross Oakleigh not out of danger for Sheeny. Does well to bring that down on the first touch. Comes back to Matthews. Ball whipped in. It's a great one. Cleared briefly. Not over yet. Thurtell can't get that one. And Jack Webster drives out of his 18-yard box for Bentleigh. And another challenge. It's waved away by the referee. And Webster, he goes long. It's not a bad ball. Finds Pierce Waring. They come set and can't find the feet of Braden Crowley. And as we see Joey Guest on the ball, Lockie, do you reckon that could be an early tact? As we say, we play just for the moment. As we see Bentleigh with a chance to go forward. They find Crowley, gets inside the box. Some good defending from Oakleigh. And do you think it could be a ploy tonight from Nick Tollis' men to maybe try and catch Oakleigh on the counter-attack? They are pretty strong across the park, and it's going to take a lapse of concentration really to break them down tonight.
Yeah, it's hard to be certain whether they will or they won't, purely due to the fact that we sort of expected them to do that when they were fielding a weaker 11 against Heidelberg on Sunday when they were in bad form. We thought that in that game that they might have sat back and tried to play on the counter, but they didn't do that at all, really. They dominated the possession and created a lot of openings against the Heidelberg backline. So I think Nick Tolias, I feel, to play the counter-attacking style would be to compromise his principles maybe a little bit. So I'll expect that the Bentleigh will try and create things in possession wherever possible, but as we've seen from them, they know how to play the B side. You know, they know their second plan, and if there is space ahead of them, they can punish.
And Wade Decker doing well to earn the first corner of the evening at Kingston Heath. Don't forget too, if you are watching through the Facebook live stream or YouTube platform, you can get your comments coming through. Let us know the score update, what you think it could be, or maybe even a prediction, or who you're supporting and where you're watching from as well. We love to get your comments through. We see the ball whipped in from Joey Guest. It's going long to the back stick, looking for Oscar Dillon. Can't find it on this occasion, and he goes to ground. And the referee will award a free kick on the 8th minute.
Yeah, decent position here for the Cannons. They've got a number of pretty imposing defenders who might have a go at this one. Lucas Portelli starting this evening. Definitely one who can get his head on the end of a delivery. As the cross is sent in. Oscar Dillon was waiting for it at the back stick. Bentleigh do well to clear their lines. Kublai. Fashini clips another one in. Matthews tries to flick it on. Oakleigh retain possession.
Bentleigh doing well to ride a defensive wave there as it goes out wide to Joey Guest. Comes central. And a chance of Bentleigh to break on the far side in front of the grandstand. And it's a good driving run. And the ball does go out, but it does give them a bit of defensive relief as we see a bit of a late challenge here. And the referee will just stop play for a minute. Didn't quite see what happened there, Lockie, but he's definitely down the ground.
Yeah, I'm not sure there necessarily was a challenge there, which I think makes it all the more concerning. I believe that's Oscar Dillon over on that right-hand side, or on the far side of the field, I should say. Hamstring seemed as though it might have just gone twang there. He went down in quite a lot of angst, and it does seem that already Oakleigh might be preparing a substitution, because that did not look good. It didn't look like there was a challenge coming in from a Bentleigh player there, and immediately he was clutching for the leg and limping, so I'd be very surprised if Oscar Dillon sees any more minutes here at Kingston Heath this evening, which is a real shame given what we've been saying about him in the opening minutes of this broadcast.
Especially when we've given him a big rap a couple of minutes ago as well, and it looks like the Oakleigh coaching staff are getting a substitution ready, and he has hobbled off. Oscar Dillon holding that hamstring, unfortunately for him, so hopefully he'll be all right in the upcoming weeks.
So it'll be Tyson Holmes, the former Bentleigh man, coming in to replace the injured Oscar Dillon. That's going to prompt a little bit of a rejig tactically for Chris Taylor, who's a known tinkerer. Holmes, of course, a midfielder by trade, so he slots into that midfield three. And it's Matt Fashini who drops out into right back, and Captain Tom Matthews will replace the injured Oscar Dillon in the centre of defence alongside Lucas Portelli. So a few interesting tactical tweaks there from Chris Taylor.
Matthew Fashini, no stranger to right back, of course, during his time with Melbourne Victory. Had a couple of starts there as we see Oakleigh driving forward. They find Joey Guest. Ball comes in the box from Decker, and it's not too often that you actually see Tyson Holmes starting the game on the bench, Lockie. So I don't know if he's carrying an injury or just a lack of form, or maybe just a change of formation.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think he did, or I have heard around the traps that he picked up a bit of a knock in that game in the FFA Cup. I believe it was against Mazenod. He picked up a little bit of an injury there, so he's just maybe being managed a little bit. I did wonder for a brief second if it might have been sort of a, coming up against a former club I played a lot of years for, a little gentleman's agreement, but here he is, Tyson Holmes, on earlier than he would have expected, and in with a chance to get his head on the end of that. He does so, but unfortunately didn't aim it towards goal, instead aimed it in the direction of the Zaparis Lawyers ad board behind the goals there, unfortunately.
And as he did challenge that ball, he did look a little bit frosty and a bit hesitant, so we'll keep an eye on him and see how he goes as he's slotted right into the middle of the park, as he always does. One of the true number 8s of NPL Victoria, wearing the number 8 jersey. So we'll keep an eye on Tyson Holmes as the ball goes long in the 12th minute. We'll sail out for a throw-in. No Brent McGrath tonight, as mentioned earlier on by Lockie, sent off last week after scoring a goal against Heidelberg. 2 yellow cards in the space of minutes as we see Oakleigh drive into the box. And the cross blocked by the captain, Jack Webster.
Yeah, a nice little run down the left-hand side there for Joe Knowles, and had a few messages from my Oakleigh contacts just confirming that did look to be a hamstring injury for Oscar Dillon, so no good there. Joe Guest crosses that one in. A bit of confusion here in the penalty box for Bentleigh, but eventually Jack Webster clears the lines, as he so often does, and now the Greens have a chance to launch a counter-attack as the ball's sent over the top, looking for Damien Yakonis, but had just a little bit too much heat on it for the Bentleigh attacker. Oakleigh to Decker. Matthews assessing his options and dishes it out to Fashini. From centre back to centre back as Jack Webster picks up the ball and loses out here to Joe Knowles, and I think we all know what the dictionary definition for what Jack Webster just did there is called. It's a professional foul, Bryce.
It's a bit unusual to see Oakleigh reverting to the long ball. Always the sort of side that does go on the deck with some short passing, as we see Wade Decker linking up with Matt Fashini in front of the tunnel. They come central. And a smart ball across from Fashini. They go wide. A chance to have a strike on goal, and it is wide in the 14th minute.
Speculative effort in the end there from Joe Knowles. One of those ones where early on into the game, he's still finding the radar. We haven't really had a chance, or a major chance to speak of so far in this opening 15 minutes, which is in complete contrast to the game between Bentleigh Greens and Heidelberg on Sunday. So a lot of things can change in a very short space of time in football. Harvey Lopez lining up the goal kick. Matthews winning the header. Fashini playing back to his stopper in Nick Feely. Oakleigh played wide to Decker. Errant first touch, but eventually brings it down and sends a nice ball here. Looking for Joe Guest, but that's a strong challenge from Benjamin Carrigan, who loses out once more. Nice little nutmeg there from Damien Yakonis. The inside pass is flicked well by Pierce Waring. Game getting a bit scrappy in the middle third of the pitch. Matthews given a difficult assignment to deal with here, with Pierce Waring bearing down on goal. And Oakleigh will have the throw after a decent period of pressure there from the Bentleigh Greens.
Yeah, a good passage of play from the Greens. And I think that's what Nick Tolios probably asked these men to do tonight, apply a lot of pressure from the front. Braden Crowley doing a lot of work in there as well, defensively as well as attack, as we see Pierce Waring playing the ball back and it comes out wide. Got a bit of room here, Bentleigh to work with. They play forward. Lambatarides shaping up for the strike, blocked by the Cannons. They come back again. Just a bit of patience being shown by Bentleigh Greens at the moment. Let's come back to Webster. And the Greens just can't quite find the gaps at the moment. Some good defensive structure from the Oakleigh Cannons as we see Ben Carrigan with a chance to go forward. And just a bit of sloppiness there from the Greens, and Oakleigh doing very well, lucky to hold their lines. They've been caught out in a couple of the opening round fixtures where the defensive structure has sort of lapsed at times, particularly against the Melbourne Knights. And tonight, looks like Chris Taylor's got them in tip-top shape. Yeah,
it certainly does. I think they're a team that are known for their defensive resilience, and it seems that the tinkering, some of it injury enforced, of course. Oscar Dillon not playing in this game, or not seeing the remainder of this game because he's an early substitute with the injury. But of course, Oakleigh also having to contend with the loss of Jacob Eliopoulos as well, another central defender in the medical room at the moment. He'll be out for, I think, the entire season with an ACL injury. So Chris Taylor has been forced into a number of changes in the heart of defence, but in the last couple of weeks it has seemed as though the changes that he has been making have been paying off so far. Portelli. Another diagonal ball, this time to Fascini. Bit of keep ball between Tyson Holmes and Fascini, but eventually it ends up at the feet of Kubalay. Pressure being applied here by Bauman. Matt Fascini heading inside. It's a well-intentioned diagonal towards Joe Guest, but it's a fraction too much pepper applied. Bentleigh will have the ball. Through Demanis. Ben Carrigan turns it over under pressure, and there could be a chance here for Oakleigh. Joe Knowles was streaming forward, but the chance has fallen back to Tyson Holmes. Launched a rocket, decent power, accuracy not so.
A good passage of play there, started by Matt Fascini, and Tyson Holmes with the late strike, and takes a deflection now for a corner. But Oakleigh definitely showing that ability to be able to open up the Greens. Really quick on transition there. They are one of the better sides in the NPL Victoria, there is no doubt about it. And sometimes the click of a finger, and the Oakleigh Cannons are that dangerous as we just witnessed, and it will be Joey Guest to put this corner in the 19th minute, and it comes in. It's a short one. It's not over yet. It comes out to Decker. He whips it back into the penalty spot, and Matt Thurtell in a great spot there. It's not over. Matthews shoved in the back. Shouts for penalty from the coaching staff of Oakleigh, and to be fair, Lockie, probably actually worth the penalty.
Alex Sliber was unmoved. The head referee crossed his arms straight away and said, that's not going to be a spot kick for my mind. But I'm inclined to agree with you, Bryce. I think Tom Matthews had pretty legitimate cause to gesture. He was quite clearly shoved in the back. And I think a decent penalty shout goes begging. But now, the Greens, can they add insult to injury? Hoare plays wide to Yakonis. Now the ball's wide once again with Mitch Hoare. He clips one in. And a fraction wide of the opening goal here at Kingston Heath. As Mitch Hoare seemed a little bit caught in between two minds. Could have been a cross, could have been a shot, but one thing was certain, it was very close to the opener for the Greens.
Mitch Hoare with a great strike off his unnatural left foot as there's a crossfield switch from Fascini. And turned over by Knowles, and it's a chance for Bentleigh to go forward, and they put a ball in long, looking for Braden Crowley, and he will meet it. He'll get inside the box, tries to get onto his right foot. He can't beat the defensive duties of Matthews in a sloppy turnover. Works out all right in the end, though, for the Greens. There's a sigh across the stadium, and a ball going to the back post, and unfortunately for Braden Crowley, I think he just took all the wind out of the sails there for the Bentleigh Greens.
Yeah, probably. I think you saw some of his key characteristics or key traits as an attacker sort of come to the fore to his detriment on that occasion, because he is so used to playing with back to goal and trying to set up the teammates around him. And on that occasion, he should have shot earlier, really. He had the space to do so. Tom Matthews was to his left, could have hit on the favoured right, but instead he kind of turned his back to the goal and tried to lay it off to one of his runners, which isn't the worst idea, but in that phase of the game, when that opportunity was on the line, it certainly wasn't the right decision. And those sighs from the Greens fans underneath the stand here at Kingston Heath, pretty justified when we look back on that one. It's Demanis losing out under a decent bit of front press there from Oakleigh, who now have possession through Oliver Kubelet. He's had a very bright start to life at the Cannons. Someone who's been at the Cannons for a considerably longer time. Matt Fascini on the ball here, twisting and turning and evading the challenge of Mitch Hoare. Guest fizzes one into the path of Joe Knowles. The chance is here for Joe Knowles. A good save down to his left, but the danger isn't averted. And Wade Decker burns a golden chance for the Cannons to fire themselves in front. It was a strong save down to the left by Javi Lopez to deny Joe Knowles' initial effort. It spilled right into the path of Wade Decker, who is no stranger to getting crucial goals for the Cannons. Wasn't able to do so on that occasion, however.
Wade Decker won't like watching that one back in the highlights, because that was definitely an obvious goal scoring opportunity. But look, the positive sign for Oakleigh fans is that they're actually getting in a lot of goal scoring opportunities, which Bentleigh haven't had too many. So definitely the upper hand in favour of the away side at the moment. Don't forget to, you can keep your comments getting through the NPL Victoria Facebook page if you are watching it through the live stream. We'd love for you to join us. Let us know your thoughts on the game so far. We will visit them across the course of the evening, as we see Matthew Fascini deep in defensive territory with a throw-in. Finds Fertel on the chest. Some strong defensive work from the Greens. And they turn it over, and Joey Guest to look for a ball wide and scuffs his past the golden medal winner. The slight break gives a chance for Oakleigh to get some structure back. They've had a lot of the ball in recent minutes, getting in some dangerous areas, and this time they'll go long and try a different tact. Finds ahead of Decker, who's trying to work in with Thurtell, coming up against his old side tonight for the first time. And it's always an interesting one. For example, the player like Matt Thurtell spent a number of years at the Bentleigh Green, was well looked after making the move down from the Brisbane Strikers close to 6 years ago. How do you think he's feeling tonight, coming against his first, I guess, side? Did he ever join in Melbourne for the first time this season?
I'd be sure. I'll hold off on that thought if we see a chance possibly here. Pierce Waring trying to get an interception there, but Tom Matthews doing well to get himself between ball and attacker. Yeah, certainly going to be an interesting night for Matt Thurtell. Another cross comes in here, the back stick. Braden Crowley is waiting for it. He hit it low, it bounced off the deck, and luckily for Nick Feely, it bounced right up at him. And another golden chance for Braden Crowley goes begging.
Both sides getting the chances. That's the main thing, Lockie, that we haven't just got end to end with no chances. So it's good to see the action, as always, in the NPL Victoria, as we see Jack Webster just trying to settle things down and play it short. Lambertaridis wins this time over Tyson Holmes. A risky ball back. Carrigan does well. And a nice comment through, Lockie, from Jude Marsh. A couple of Quana Waters State College boys playing tonight. Matt Thurtell and Mitch Hoare, both going through the Football Excellence program. It's obviously a great school up in the Sunshine Coast. And coming up against each other tonight for the first time. So it's good to see some boys from the Sunshine State doing well in Victoria. Alex saying the Bentleigh Greens need some new players. They can't keep making do with injuries as an excuse. Well, the transfer window is very close to opening, Lockie. We've already seen some signings across other teams in the league, and I know that the Bentleigh Greens are looking to bring in some new recruits to strengthen up their side because they are decimated by injuries at the moment. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, their pre-season was such a tough one. They lost so many important key cogs in that side that are only just filtering their way back into the squad. As Wade Decker's layoff is cut out there by Corey Sewell. Yeah, of course, Lambatarides was a long-term injury. And another one, actually, who's making his way back into the side this week after a long-term injury sustained in pre-season is Ryan Losty. But more on the transfer market for the Greens in just a moment. It's Pierce Waring going one-to-one with Tom Matthews on this left-hand side. Heads toward the byline. Can he find a target? He can't. Matthews clears, but only as far as Bauman. But his cross is high, wide, and in the end pretty ugly. I think the Greens could certainly still, despite the fact that some of those players are returning from injury, could still do with a dip into the transfer market. They're known for being pretty shrewd operators, bring in some quality players, and some of the players that have been signed at the start of the season and have had sustained bursts in the team have performed exceptionally well. I think Mitch Hoare has been a player who's impressed many since he's come down from Queensland, but yeah, certainly expect the Greens, to make a few moves in the off-season. We've already seen some pretty sharp signings from clubs elsewhere. Josh Baresi coming in to the thick of things at league leaders South Melbourne. But the one that really caught my eye is Hamish Watson to the Dandenong Thunder, looking to replace the physical presence up front of Brandon Barnes. I think the NPL Victoria commentary circle probably have to put $1 in a jar every time we say Brandon Barnes' name. But hopefully Hamish Watson can be that replacement. But now with the Cannons. Joe Guest, the left-hand side. The cross is inviting. Matt Thurtell is waiting at the back stick, but Javi Lopez palms away. Fashini. The second effort, cleared away by the Greens. Crowley with back to goal. Using his body nicely and playing back to Demanis. It was Lambatarides, in fact. Nice move there from Hamish Miller. And Wade Decker's got room to maneuver on this left-hand side. He squares it back to Miller, who flashes a strong shot well clear of the crossbar. Oakleigh forging yet another decent chance in transition. All that's missing for either side at the moment, Bryce, is the finish.
And it's very unlike Oakleigh to not be putting away their chances. We've seen some big score lines that the Oakleigh Cannons have put on in previous years against sides that don't threaten them too much. Not saying that Bentleigh aren't, but definitely enough chances there to make an imprint on the scoreboard for the Oakleigh Cannons. We do see them retain possession. They come central to Holmes. He's looking a little bit limited to movement tonight. He did come on as an early substitution for Oscar Dillon. We will keep an eye on him, and it comes back to Matthews, who moves central to replace Dillon in the centre of the park. It's turned over, and it comes to Pierce Waring. Goes forward to Hoare. It's a 1-2. He's got Crowler to his right. Ignores that option and comes back. Sewell playing in more of a central midfield holding role tonight. And this is one area where the Bentleigh Greens are probably going to look to try and find somewhere in the transfer market. There is a bit of a rumour going around. They're looking for that holding midfielder. We did mention last week as the ball does come back to the Greens in the box, and a chance here for Braden Crowley, and it sprinkles its way across the left-hand post, locking in Braden Crowley. You can feel the anxiousness of him watching that ball trickle across the face.
Watching Braden Crowley over the past 2 weeks, Bryce, you almost have to wonder if he's walked under a ladder or something in recent weeks, because the finishing touch just has not been there with the former A-League player. He is such a talent. We know what he's capable of. But unfortunately, that most important thing for the striker, the ball in the back of the net, is just eluding him at the moment. Frustratingly so for Nick Tolios and his 11. Matthews. Another long ball. This one well clear of its intended target in Wade Decker. Dan Bauman just gesticulating, trying to find an option. Bit of head tennis there between Lambertarides and Tyson Holmes. That's a somewhat careless turnover there by Jack Webster, and Oakleigh will have the ball at the halfway line. Joe Knowles playing well with back to goal and looking for the switch. He does find a willing recipient in Matt Fashini. Guest drops deep to pick this one up. Decker goes down under the challenge of Dan Bauman there, and Dan Bauman wasn't convinced, but Oakleigh have taken this free kick quickly. Wade Decker, the follow-up. Cross after Tyson Holmes' initial blocked pass into the penalty area eventually comes to nothing. But an interesting free kick call there on this near side, Bryce, that the Cannons nearly took full advantage of.
And I think Bowman just gave a prime example of every coach's worst nightmare. Instead of playing the whistle and arguing the decision to get back in position, because he almost got caught out and almost allowed the first goal to come in, as we see the Oakleigh Cannons again charging the box. And it will be a goal kick, and there's a bit of afters here between Jack Webster and Joey Knowles. Not sure what that was over. It didn't look too much at the time, but the referee, Alex Lieber, very quick to get in between the two players, and he'll just have a quick chat. And it gives us to have a quick chat too about, obviously you're involved with the FNR, and there's a lot of talk around your offices all the time about rumours of player transfers to other clubs or players that might be going into a different club from outside the league. Is there any whispers that you guys have heard inside the four walls at FNR?
I can't give away anything just yet, Bryce. I think we'll have to wait for the official opening of the transfer market. There's already been some good moves, but no, I think I'll keep the powder dry for the moment. A few Lang Warren whispers here and there as well, but I'll save it for Twitter, where I can really take full advantage of the metrics, Bryce. You know, you can understand. I got to play the game.
You can spread the news as it comes to hand. Definitely worth keeping an eye on the next couple of weeks as that transfer window does open up. There's always plenty of movement, so we'll keep an eye on that as we see Jack Webster send this ball along up the line. Looking for Pierce Waring. Some strong challenges being introduced in this game. It's been 34 minutes and we are still short of a goal. It's probably all this fixture is missing so far. There's been some great play from both sides and plenty of chances if you've just joined us. We also have some other fixtures at hand at the moment. Melbourne Knights and Altona Magic. It is 1-0 in favour of the Knights at home, and it's still 1-0 in favour of Port Melbourne over Avondale, which, if the score stays that way, like that could be a bit of an upset.
Another potential tipster's nightmare in the offing there at JL Murphy Reserve. That would be a huge result. He is hoping the tempers don't bubble over here. As you said, Bryce, it has been a physical battle. We don't want it spilling into anything ugly. Haven't seen anything too villainous just yet as Bentleigh turned the ball over. Guest losing out to Yakonis. Braden Crowley turning and unfortunately losing it out. Or losing out on it, rather. Bowman. Matthews thumps that one away. Lambertarides using all of his tall frame to try and retain possession, and the Greens do so. Nice little ball over the top there from Yakonis. Hoare finds Waring on the left-hand side. It goes down. I was going to say goes down under the challenge of Matt Fashini, but in the eyes of Alex Leiber, it goes down under the challenge of no one at all.
And something I've noticed, Lockie, I don't know if I'm going to give way too much credit here to the man in the ball in Tom Matthews, but any time that the ball goes long searching for Braden Crowley, you can see Crowley doing the right thing a striker does and look over their shoulder. But I don't know if it's just mind games with Tom Matthews, but he's dropping off a few metres and he's basically giving Braden Crowley that sort of thought. He's got some room to move him to turn, and as soon as he's turning, he's getting him on that, basically that first step. So I don't know if it's some brilliant coaching from Chris Taylor and some smarts by Tom Matthews, or it's pure coincidence that it's happened on 2 occasions in a row. But that's definitely something to keep an eye on, because Braden Crowley is very dangerous around the box and he's very quick and nippy. So if there is an obvious goal-scoring threat for Bentleigh, it is going to come through Braden Crowley. As we do see Fashini trying to get around the outside of Bentleigh, and it's not working. And there's a shove in the back, and it will be a free kick.
A fascinating one from decision. Whether or not it's from Tom Matthews or from Chris Taylor or a mixture of both, we're not 100% certain from the broadcast side. But yeah, Braden Crowley, not a typical, or not typically, I should say, get in behind the line kind of striker. Does like to drop short to receive possession, and Tom Matthews dropping deeper and trying to snuff out that counter-attacking ball in behind does give Crowley an interesting conundrum. Does he follow with Tom Matthews, or does he drop a little bit shorter to receive possession even in deep midfield as he's done previously? Only time will tell. As Sewell has his pass cut out by Kubalay. Does enough to win it back, though. Pierce Waring. Bentleigh finding an avenue to hold the ball in a tight space there. And Mitch Hoare, the chance to cross on the right-hand side, cleared away by Tom Matthews. And Hamish Miller has his clearance blocked, and eventually Oakleigh grant themselves a reprieve. Another attempted ball in behind there. A deeper back line, as you mentioned, Bryce, of the Oakleigh Cannons, just suffocating the chance to play that ball in behind to any decent effect. Wade Decker. Holmes. Now Oakleigh taking their turn to hold possession. Both teams pretty pleased with their respective defensive performances so far. Certainly seen a lot of this in the game so far, Bryce. Elongated periods of passing it around the back as both teams frustrating each other with their opponent's defensive shape.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams, even in the lower leagues or amateurs, could really take a leaf out of the Oakleigh book in how I think the game should be played. They're definitely very patient, and you can see their discipline is A+. They just not in the rush to play it forward, and they're happy to come back. And I think Chris Taylor definitely has a well-drilled side, and look, it's frustrating Bentleigh. There's no doubt about it, but at the same time too, Bentleigh is capable of playing that same football. I think it's just going to come down to who can keep their discipline tonight with their structure, because Oakleigh, we know that it's going to take a mental brain fart, you could say, for them to explode, but Bentleigh too, they do have that in them at times as well, especially we've seen this season. So something to keep an eye on in the second half. We've got 5 minutes left to play in the first half, and Bentleigh do win it in the centre of the park, and it's a free kick from Alex Leiber. Webster faking for the short free kick. He goes short. He finds Lambatarides, who comes across to Ben Carrigan. Goes back to Webster. Has to go short. And a good inside run. A nice step over to him. The ball gets whipped in. Goes to the near post. And a good touchdown from Hoare. Shouts have hit it from the Bentleigh fans, but not really much room to work with. It'll be a throw-in in front of the clubhouse. Fashini goes up the line. Can't find Thurtell. Tom Matthews doing well to clear that one. Ben Carrigan with Matt Thurtell on his shoulder. He goes back and some good defensive work from Ben Carrigan. Lopez goes long. Mitchell and Fashini both caught out on the bounce. Goes back to Matthews. And a long ball. And maybe that's just a sign of a bit of frustration from Oakleigh, not getting much out of their front three at the moment. There's plenty of movement, but they're just not really able to lock that ball in that final third.
Yeah, I think not just frustration that they haven't been able to find those openings in the last 10 minutes, but perhaps also some leftover resentment of that penalty claim earlier in the half for Tom Matthews that went unrewarded by referee Alex Leiber. They've had enough chances to go ahead, have the cannons. Speaking of cannons, Pierce Waring with an effort that would have clocked quite a few notches on the speedometer, I'd say. I'll put it this way, if that ball was travelling on the Nepean Highway, a cop car might have pulled it over. Or it might have crashed because it wasn't particularly close to goal.
We are near a golf course and an airport, so either off the runway or a drive down a par 5 that could have been, but we see the ball back in play. Still doing well to win the header. And Braden Crowley trying to lock this one in, goes to ground. Stays down momentarily, he's back on his feet now. And if we go into the half-time break clock at 0-0, who do you think would be the happier of the two coaches going in?
It's a tough one. I think perhaps Nick Tolios. I think probably in terms of chances, if you look back at the shot count for these respective sides, of course I haven't got the stats to hand, but I would wager, at least from my viewing of the game, that Oakleigh have edged it slightly. Probably created the better chances, come close to having a spot kick as well. So I think Nick Tolios is probably happier to be at 0-0, but having said that, I don't think that by any stretch of the imagination Chris Taylor will be particularly frustrated. He knows that his sides are capable of getting it done late. And they tried to fashion an opening late into this first half. Might get another chance before the first half's race is run as Kublai plays forward to Guest. He links up with Tyson Holmes. He's got space to maneuver. Dishes it off to Joe Knowles. He's come across to this right-hand side. The flick on is there from Matt Thurtell. Now with Miller. Ball's clipped in behind and cleared away in an unorthodox manner by Corey Sewell, and it's only a temporary reprieve for the Bentleigh Greens defence. Fashini, the diag. A difficult one for Javi Lopez, but he stands tall. Caught strongly.
Very unorthodox there from Corey Sewell. I haven't seen that for a number of years in the NPL, but hey, look, if it works, why not do it? So, who are we to judge from behind a microphone as we see the ball go long?
Well, I think when you've seen what Phil Jones can do in his efforts to clear a ball, nothing's weird after you've seen that. Pierce Waring getting around one, firing off a shot. Low and no danger in the end to Nick Feely's goal. Did ask the question of the referee whether or not that took a nick and should have been a corner to the home side, but the referee wanted nothing to do with it. As we move into stoppage time here in the first half at Kingston Heath.
Don't forget, during the halftime break as well, you can check out all the action from the 3 other matches happening across Melbourne tonight in round 8 of the NPL Victoria. As you see, Demanis drive forward from his right back position. Plays a bit of a nothing ball forward on this occasion, and Fashini has a chance to do the same as his opposite position. He finds Joey Guest with a great ball out wide. The strike from Knowles that goes across. It takes a touch from Lopez. And a late chance in this first half for the Oakleigh Cannons.
Great opportunity there for Joe Knowles. It was picked out beautifully by Joe Guest. I have to say, sometimes you say words involuntarily when you see good techers on a football pitch, and that diagonal from Joe Guest certainly made me emit a word that I cannot broadcast on air. It was that good. Joe Knowles, the chance for him going begging, but perhaps one more drive towards an opener for the Cannons. As Guest swings it in. Matthews is at the back stick. And Bentleigh clear. And that takes us to the halftime whistle. 0-0 here at halftime here in Cheltenham at Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. A 0-0 game, but that scoreline probably belies the quality of the opening 45 itself. There's been chances aplenty for either side, the best of which have fallen to the Oakleigh Cannons. That one right before the first half, probably the best of the lot for Joe Knowles. Plenty to think about at halftime for the respective managers. I think neither will be particularly disappointed with the game so far, but I think, like us watching in the stands, Nick Tolios and Chris Taylor will just be waiting for that breakthrough, Bryce.
Yep, and both sides searching for a goal in the second half of this round 8 fixture. Join us in 15 minutes for the second half, and don't forget to, throughout the games happening live across Melbourne in round 8 of NPL Victoria. Welcome back to the second half at Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. Round 8 of the NPL Victoria between the Bentleigh Greens and the Oakleigh Cannons. We are locked at nil apiece. Bryce Ruthven, Lockie Flanagan taking you through this one. And Lockie, not a bad first half with plenty of chances for both sides.
Yeah, it was an entertaining 45 despite the lack of goals. Another half of football here at Kingston Heath that what it lacks in goals, it certainly makes up for in entertainment. Both sides still sitting patiently and waiting for the opening, as we said before. The halftime whistle. Oakleigh probably the side who feel like they deserve to be in front on the balance of chances, but they haven't found that opener just yet. For the Bentleigh Greens, I'll be keeping a close eye on Braden Crowley, a striker who is getting himself into the right positions in the past few weeks, is getting himself into good shooting opportunities, but it just seems to be lacking a little bit of confidence when it comes to the cut and thrust of putting the ball into the back of the net. So if he's able to find a second wind, pick up his levels a bit and get himself amongst the scorers, that could bode very well for the Greens in this second 45.
Tyson Holmes looking to play the ball forward to Thurtell, flicks it through. And Matt Fashini does well to keep that in, and Ernie's side a throw in. If you are watching through the NPL Victoria Facebook page or YouTube channel, don't forget you can let us know your thoughts on this game so far. Let us know where you're watching from and who you're supporting, as there's a lot of other games on tonight. 3 as a matter of fact. And we're in the 90th minute at Knights Stadium, and the Melbourne Knights lead Altona Magic 1-0. It's Port Melbourne, the hosts, lead Avondale 1-0. And half-time at Dandenong City, it's 1-1 between themselves and Green Gully. So plenty of action tonight across Melbourne. Plenty of action across the weekend as well. We've got a lot of fixtures happening tomorrow. Eastern Lions and Heidelberg. South Melbourne taking on St Albans, and Dandenong Thunder taking on Hume City. So if you're looking for a fix of football over the weekend, definitely keep an eye on this NPL Victoria Facebook page. See Joey Guest running over to take the corner. He's had a few chances tonight as well. The current gold medal holder for Football Victoria. Also known as the player with the highest votes for man of the match. And just a bit of confusion with the balls at the moment. Joey Guest whips it in to the penalty spot. Matthews can't find it with his head. Jack Webster forced to just clear it out. And it will be a throw-in for the Cannons.
Football's flying around everywhere so far in this first 45. It's Hamish Miller. Tries to confuse Will Demanis there, or Damien Yakonis, I should say, but in the end, Hamish Miller really tried to twist and turn, and the only person he ended up confusing was himself, from the look of things. Very reliable defender is Hamish Miller. Of course, part of the big Miller family, which has a number of players, or a number of brothers who all play football, both in Victoria and also, of course, brother Matt in the A-League as well. Tyson Holmes. A little bit of a stoush there between him and Pierce Waring, and he picks up a free kick at the end of the altercation. It's cleared away by Will Demanis. Here's Hamish Miller once more, going long looking for Joe Knowles. Bentleigh do well to build things away. Now here's Mitch Hall, one of Bentley's brightest in the first half. He's given one for Braden Crowley to chase. Pierce Waring is waiting in the middle, but Crowley just hesitates. Sends it back to Demanis. Now the cross can come in. Pierce Waring is rising, firing his headed effort in the direction of the goal, but Nick Feely was standing between that ball and the line quite comfortable in the end. As now Oakleigh look to launch an attack of their own. Joe Knowles coming on the left. He hears the shouts of time, heads for the byline. Managed to skip his way around Will Demanis and again caught in between the option to shoot and the option to cross. Just ends up hoofing it straight to the other end of the pitch. Definitely caught between the two minds there, Joe Knowles.
I'm always very intrigued from a striking point of view why a player of his quality would go just to blast the absolute leather off the ball when you're in a good position, just find a corner. I think coaches always say week in, week out just to play it short, and just don't know why they don't take the obvious option there. "50 minutes played at Kingston Heath. It is round 8 in the NPL Victoria. The ladder definitely starting to take shape. Oakleigh Cannons up around the top of the ladder. Bentleigh Greens sitting midway as we see Joey Guest win the ball. Webster comes wide. Chance to get across, and it's ball blocked by Webster. And Sewell goes long, can't find Crowley. Thurtell going for it. Webster goes to ground rather easily. And Mitch Hoare with a good little ball over the top. Matthews finds the head. It's not over yet, and Crowley probably with the wrong option there. Like he could have brought that down and tried to get a strike off properly.
Yeah, Pierce Waring, not only could he have got the shot off properly, but Pierce Waring was ready and waiting just over the left shoulder of Tom Matthews. Could have very easily found him if he had the wherewithal to pick him out. Can the Cannons punish them? Joe Knowles cutting his way inside. A nice little reverse pass to Wade Decker. He loses out there to Jack Webster. Certainly won't be the last to lose out to Jack Webster. As the Greens parade forward through Pierce Waring, who's done well to get rid of a few. Damien Yakonis lines one up. And Nick Feely was lucky that shot was hit directly at him because he had to scramble to get fingertips to him. If it had been either side of him, you'd imagine, Bryce, that would have been 1-0 to the home side.
And probably the first proper chance of the night, Lockie, for both sides. It was on target and really had an obvious threat. A lot of the other chances have gone begging tonight by being spread over a crossbar. So Bentleigh Greens looking to show some signs they can go up on a scoreboard in the 52nd minute. The corner's played short to Demanis. Stops the ball dead, goes inside of Holmes, gets a strike off on his left foot, and it's rather square and goes out for a goal kick. But at least the Greens are showing some promising signs. If you're a Bentleigh fan, you've got to be very happy with your start in the second half.
Yeah, I think certainly the Greens and the Greens fans are just looking for a little bit more consistency of performance. Of course, prior to that draw against Heidelberg last week, it had been a difficult few weeks for them. Winless in their previous 3. Sort of the nadir of that run of results being a 0-0 draw against the greatly less fancy St Albans. So they just want to see some consistency of performance, and I think they were certainly in the fight against Heidelberg last week and probably should have won that game. And so far against the strong Oakleigh Cannons outfit, they've also matched it with the best of them. But here are the Cannons once again through Joe Knowles. He's got Webster and Yakonis for company. And knocks his effort or attempted cross into the box right into the shins of Jack Webster, who makes yet another block in the heart of the Bentleigh defence. Captain Tom Matthews just meandering forward as Joe Guest prepares to swing this one in. It's over the head of Portelli and it finds Tom Matthews, but perhaps not expecting to get on the end of that one. It seemed as though Portelli might have been most likely, but he didn't end up rising for it. It fell to Matthews instead, and perhaps it caught him by surprise to the point where he wasn't able to get the effort that came out in the end anywhere near the goal.
Bentleigh go long. And a free kick in a good position right in front of the Bentleigh Greens bench. Damien Iconis brought to ground. Nick Tolios asking for a yellow card, and the fouls are starting to accumulate for both sides. It's a quick free kick with some room to move as they enter the box. Some footwork from Pierce Waring. Read easily in the end by Tom Matthews. Iconis and Mitchell trying to work together for the Bentleigh Greens. And Tyson Holmes goes all the way back to Feely. He goes long, looking for Decker. And a bit of a nothing challenge. Decker goes to ground holding his ankle. There wasn't really too much in that. I think it was more of a misread situation from Wade Decker. Might have fallen awkwardly on his ankle when landing, but it's a chance for a quick stoppage. So we pay a visit around the grounds to see some other scores, and it has ended 2-1 to Melbourne Knights in a flurry of late goals. 2 goals in stoppage time over at Knights Stadium. 1-1 in the 91st minute, and then a penalty in the 93rd minute. So must have been some scenes over there, and it continues Altona Magica's streak of not taking 3 points away from games. They're really struggling at the moment, aren't they, Lockie?
Yeah, massive shock so far, the Altona Magic. Certainly the side that's fallen furthest of anyone's expectations, at least ahead of the start of the season, the Magic. They've got quality players, but can they put it all together? Speaking of which, Oakleigh trying to put together the opening goal of the game, and they went ever so close there through Joel Knowles, who struck the upright post there. It was hit with some venom. Javi Lopez didn't look like he was going to get anywhere near it if it was goalward bound, but certainly the closest we've come to a goal here at Kingston Heath. We may yet come closer. As Braden Crowley plays it wide to Will Demanis. Pierce Waring is angling towards the far post, and Demanis tries to wriggle his way around Hamish Miller, but the experienced NPL Victoria defender says, not happening tonight, buddy. And he will have the throw, Hamish Miller. Looking for the ball up the line to Matt Thurtell, who, gotta say, Bryce, I don't know about you, but Matt Thurtell, for my reckoning, has had a pretty quiet game so far. We haven't had to call his name an awful lot, if at all.
He's definitely one of the more prolific strikers in the NPL Victoria, but I think you've spot on there, Lockie. He's had a very quiet game coming up against his side that he spent so many years at in Bentleigh for the first time since making the move across the southeast, and he has been rather quiet. As we see Ben Carrigan go forcing his way forward. Knowles goes to ground, and yeah, just very unlike Matt Thurtell. You normally get a chance to out of him, at least in the first half. I don't even think he had one chance.
By the same token, though, Bryce, that kind of is a little bit of what we come to expect from Matt Thurtell in a way. Like, sure, he's certainly still, by regular standards, by Matt Thurtell standards, been quieter than he would have liked. But he is known for that sort of drifting in and out of games, but being there in the right place at the right time. He's about as cliche of he's about as much of a Johnny on the spot as you could possibly think of. He's just always in the right place at the right time. I've taken to calling him the Phantom a few times, just because he drifts in out of nowhere. So we see a coming together of Oakleigh and Bentleigh bodies there. Joe Knowles is on the deck. And is that Corey Sewell, perhaps, who's picked up a cautionary card? Yeah, it was a strong coming together between those two, and Joe Knowles, who's had such a bright second half for the Cannons, does look to be in quite a bit of pain. Of course, if you're just joining us, Joe Knowles currently receiving some treatment in the same area of the pitch where Oscar Dillon saw his hamstring pop, unfortunately, and he was an early substitute for the Cannons. Tyson Holmes, of course, coming on early on. That was about the only notable action you missed in the first half if you are just joining us. But yeah, back to important matters, Bryce. The Phantom. Is that an appropriate nickname for Matt Thurtell? Do you think that sums him up nicely?
Nothing else comes to mind, so I'll go with that as Joey gets the ball in. It's quite shallow. Can they find the top of the 18-yard box? Miller goes wide, finds Decker. Does well to beat the first one. Gets inside the box. A strike from Holmes, and it ends up in the car park. As you see, a substitution being made for the Bentleigh Greens in the 60th minute. Will Demanis being replaced with number 17, Alex Cornelia. So Nick Toyle's looking to add some freshness to his side out on the park. And it might also see a tweak too of a formation. Alex Caniglia, more of a winger than a right back. It comes back to Webster. And the ball up the line. Looking for Damien O'Conus. Caniglia, the fresh man. Can't do too much with it on this occasion.
Hamish Miller has probably seen that run from Alex Cornelia a few times over the years in the NPL. Just having a look at how that substitution might have changed things for the Bentleigh Greens. It looks as though Corey Sewell is slotted in to the left side of defence. Now I wonder, Bryce, if this might be another sort of Nick Tolios galaxy brain football approach where out of possession maybe Sewell is asked to play that left back role, and then in possession he might push his way into midfield. We'll see whether or not that particular prediction plays out, but for the moment it is Bentleigh Greens out of possession and Corey Sewell in that left back slot. As Oakleigh in the 63rd minute trying to fashion an opening. Decker. Speculative ball into the effort. Fashini's waiting at the back stick. And a strong save there from Javi Lopez to deny Matt Fashini. Well, he got a goal last week against the Melbourne Knights and perhaps thought, why stop at one? Got himself surprisingly forward there as the corner's taken quickly by the Oakleigh Cannons. And Fashini lines up another effort. The defender has gotten a bit goal hungry. You can't blame him. Doesn't grab too many. Another cross sent in. Cleared away by the Greens. Only as far as Tyson Holmes. Guest. His pass. Just not connecting there with Joe Knowles. But that was a memorable few minutes for Matt Fashini. Someone who doesn't always find his name on the goal scorers list too often, but clearly must have enjoyed it last week when he saw his name written out there last week, Bryce.
And one thing I'm enjoying tonight at Kingston Heath is the Spanish flair beneath us. Normally when you come here, you hear the odd Greek profanity or two, but tonight it's a lot of Spanish words coming out that I don't understand. So it's been a nice change. There's a bit of colour beneath us. Obviously, supporting Xavier Lopez, the Bentleigh Greens goalkeeper. Can only presume it's the family, but good to see people getting out and about and supporting football on a Friday evening. It's one of the best nights of the week in my eyes to get out to a local NPL fixture and watch some action. As we see a break in action at the moment with a Bentleigh Greens player just on the deck. Corey Sewell just maybe looking for some attention. We've also finished at Port Melbourne Soccer Club tonight. Port Melbourne, Avondale FC 1-1 in the end with a late goal for Avondale from Charlie Beverley in the 83rd minute. So, by the sounds of it, Lockie, two great endings to the other fixtures that have finished. It's half time at the other one between Denty City and Green Gully, 1 apiece at the moment. As we see Ben Carrigan just watching this one drift over the sideline. And what have you made of his return tonight into the centre-back position? He's obviously spent some time in the Melbourne Victory setup, so he's got the quality there, and it's his first season in a Bentleigh Greens top, and he's settling in quite well by the looks of it.
Yeah, I had the privilege of watching his first ever game in a Greens shirt on the opening of the season against the Eastern Lions. Of course, from last week as well against Heidelberg. Has been in and out of the side, unfortunately, as a result of injury, but yeah, he looks very composed alongside Jack Webster, a player who's probably learning a lot from, as Cornelia sends one in low, and Tom Matthews, the Oakleigh captain, is alert to the danger, as he so often is. But Carrigan, he's got a good eye for a pass from the centre of defence, and certainly think him and Jack Webster seem to be forming a pretty solid partnership. Of course, the Greens, for them, the trouble has predominantly been putting the ball into the back of the net. And they're trying to get that done here through Yakonis. Another player, more specifically, caught in between two minds there. It's not the worst idea in the world to try and cross it in to Braden Crowley, perhaps not in his current form, but another chance fizzling out for the Bentleigh Greens. It's been about 5 minutes since Bentleigh made their first sub of the game. Alex Cornelia replacing Will DeMarnis, as under pressure from Pierce Waring, Oakleigh rather, are forced to clear away. And Tyson Holmes picks up a free kick deep. And Tyson Holmes at present remains the only substitute that the Oakleigh Cannons have used in this game. Scoreline being as it is, 23 minutes left to play. We'll expect them to make a change sooner rather than later. Of course, they do have Ryan Pachkowski waiting on the pine. In terms of attacking options, Marcus Dimanche, another they can use. He can bring some trickery into the wide positions. So certainly a couple of options there, Bryce, for Chris Taylor to call on if he chooses to make those substitutions.
This is a question to you, Lockie. Tonight we've obviously seen Tyson Holmes on the bench, Pachkowski, Dimanche. They're three regular starters for the Oakleigh Cannons week in, week out. So do you think maybe Chris Taylor has taken an approach tonight to maybe rest some players, seeing the Bentleigh Green side is a bit weaker? And I suppose where that's in the ladder at the moment is maybe a sign of where Chris Taylor thinks the quality of the Bentleigh Greens is at the moment.
Quite possibly. I think with respect to Holmes, it's possibly more of a loading thing. But certainly we've seen a number of times this season that Chris Taylor can afford to make rotations pretty regularly to the starting 11 and tinker with the winning formula because he's got the depth to do so. Pachkowski and Decker in particular have swapped quite a lot with that starting berth. As it is Tyson Holmes, the substitute, who had a little bit of invention behind that effort, but no threat whatsoever to Javi Lopez's goal. But Yeah, going back to Ryan Pachkowski, he has played on the left back, but also started on the left wing, and I think it's not just a flexibility and an ability to make change, as I'll hold that thought, as Braden Crowley has a chance here to break his duck. But he just has the look of a striker who seems to have the yips at the moment. Right down the throat of Nick Feely, that effort on goal. Now Wade Decker. Plays inside to Tyson Holmes. Nice little outside of the foot pass. Finds Joe Knowles. Twists and turns and sends one in. It was looking for Joe Guest that nearly found the back of the net. Still waiting for the opener.
Just getting back to that chance from Braden Crowley minutes ago. Geez, just too slow, I think, for a man of his quality. As we see Pierce Waring get a chance to go 1-on-1 and can't beat the feet of Nick Feely. That is an unbelievable save from the Oakleigh keeper. Legs were spread, but they were closed at the right second and prevented the first goal of the evening. And I'll tell you what, 2 chances. Nick Tyler's will be pulling his hair out, Lockie.
That was an unbelievable chance. The second in the space of a few minutes as this game really starts to open up. Here's Joe Knowles clipping it in. Matt Thurtell was rising but wasn't able to get his head to it. Game certainly opening up now as players start to get tired. But that was a fantastic chance for Pierce Waring and an awesome save from Nick Feely, who's been such a shrewd acquisition by the Oakleigh Cannons. That particular save, there was a little bit of fortune as well as good design and good technique from Feely, but he'll take it straight to the bank. And Oakleigh will hold on for now to a clean sheet, but maybe not for much longer, as the Bentleigh Greens make another substitution. And Braden Crowley, who missed yet another golden opportunity just a few minutes earlier to grab the opener in this game. Nick Tolios finally decides enough is enough. You've missed one chance too many, Braden. And Chudiar Tajiath slots into this right-hand side. That'll see a little bit of a reshuffle into the front three for Bentleigh. Alex Cornelia, the second half substitute, moving across to the left. Tajiath on the right, and Pierce Waring with the chance to play through the middle.
I'm just watching Braden Crowley as he walked off, looking very deflated in the dugout for the home side. And we called his game on the weekend against Heidelberg, and he had multiple chances. Probably could have had 4 goals in the first half in terrible conditions. And look, sometimes strikers have a bit of a run of form where they can't find the back of the net, and it's hopefully won't be too long before we see Braden Crowley back in the score sheet, as we see Bentleigh Greens just hovering around the edge of the 18-yard box. A great ball in, goes across the face, but no one there. Probably where Braden Crowley, someone would be, to be honest, Lockie. And for Nick Tolios' man at the moment, they can't really take a trick, as we see Mitch Hoare looking to keep the ball short. Plays out wide, it goes to the back post. It's probably not the best cross we've seen all night, and it will be a goal kick.
Dare I make another golf reference, Bryce? Pitching wedge from Chudiar Tajiath there. It is such a shame to watch that body language from Braden Crowley as he leaves the field, because I think as much as he has spurned a great many chances in recent weeks to get not just his goal, but get multiple goals, it's clear to us who are watching that he's got the talent. He is an intelligent player who knows where to be at the right time, knows how to get in good positions to create opportunities. It is, as we've said so many times, just that final action, the most important one that's eluding him at present moment. He's got the feel of one of those strikers who just needs to score a complete scrapper, just a confidence-boosting kind of goal.
And there's no doubt about it, when he does find that goal he's searching for, the floodgates will open up for someone of Braden Crowley's quality. So I don't want to think like we're hammering the kid for not putting away goals, but he's a top-quality striker. So he definitely wants to be scoring goals as well. We want to see him scoring goals.
Well, there's no question of giving the kid a hard time here. I mean, Do you not remember last week, Bryce, when I declared myself the #1 member of the Brendan Crowley fan club? We certainly want him to be scoring goals. As neutral commentators, we want as many goals as we can get here in the NPL Victoria. But as yet, here on the Friday night at Kingston Heath, goals continuing to elude either side. Targiath firing one off low and straight into the arms of Nick Feely, who distributes quickly. Lambatarides just lost that one as it flew over his head. A nice little maneuver there from Tyson Holmes. Shimmying and shaking and getting rid of it to Wade Decker. Had a few errant touches in this game, but that one goes unpunished. Kubalay. Short to Guest. Ball comes across to the near side with Hamish Miller. Targiath giving him plenty of attention, but he does find Wade Decker. Scored from similar positions, but passes off instead to Tyson Holmes. Trying to create the opportunity for a cross or a shot. And in the end, all he could find was the right peg of Corey Sewell, who clears that away for an Oakleigh Cannons corner.
There is nothing better than hearing 20 coaches on the sideline singing out shoot when a man's running away from goals. It's one of the best things you get from actually attending a venue like Kingston Heath, that the players can hear basically every word from the sideline as we see a corner being readied. We also have 2 balls on the pitch. And it will be Joey Knowles to put this one in. 15 minutes plus stoppage time remaining at Kingston Heath. It's round 8 in the NPL Victoria, and the ball's whipped in to the back post. And a free kick given basically as soon as the ball was kicked. A chance for Lopez to put things in control for the Bentleigh Greens, as we see him forced to go long. He does well to find a teammate. Lambatarides sends the ball out wide to Cornelia. He comes central. And Damien Iconis turns the ball over quite cheaply in a good position for the Greens. Corey Sewell sends it forward. And Pierce Waring dropping deep to get the ball. And they keep the possession with a throw-in. Waring, cleared by Holmes. Thurtell rides a strong challenge. Lopez comes wide to find Targiath. And some good work here from Bentleigh and a chance to create something. They got numbers. They can use it. It's a ball across, some great numbers too. Waring, shots blocked by Fashini. Hoare sells things down to Sewell. Iconis. Cornelia. Comes back to Cornelia again. Takes a touch inside, lays it off for Mitch Hoare. And it's intercepted. It's a chance to stream forward for Joey Knowles. He's got Joey Guest on his right, Thurtell on his left. Goes Thurtell. It's a first-time strike. Xavier Lopez, the one-handed palm off, and the Bentleigh Greens held things down and do well to keep it in. Mitch Hoare with a great ball to Chanjeeth, and he's onside. Drives into the 18-yard box, takes a heavy touch at the end, and a deflated Kingston Heath. You could just sense it, Lockie. A big yelp.
Yeah, they were absolutely getting behind Chudiar Targiath there. But I think maybe he heard the calls and got a little bit overexcited because that touch was a little bit heavy and snuffed out an otherwise promising chance for the Greens. But what I really liked about those two chances being exchanged between the two sides was the save from Lopez drew a massive celebration from the Javi Lopez fan club in Spanish beanies and adorned with Spanish flags right next to our broadcast position. Love to see that sort of thing. But what they'd love to see more than a Javi Lopez save, I'd suspect, is a Bentleigh Greens goal. They're still searching. Corey Sewell decides against the throw that would have rewarded the run of Alex Cornelia. And now it's back with Sewell. He's drifting in field. Giving one for Cornelia. It's a nice ball in behind for Pierce Waring. And finally, the game has the opener that it so desperately needed. Pierce Waring set through on goal after a lovely ball in behind. The most difficult chance of the evening. Going for the placement. Absolutely perfect, Bryce. Past the body of Nick Feely, and the Greens finally grab the opener here at Kingston Heath.
And Pierce Waring even had a slight stumble prior to getting the shot away. It was a nice finish into the top right-hand corner, and to be fair, he has deserved a goal on. He's had a chance, and Pierce Waring finds the back of the net in the 79th minute to put the home side, the Bentleigh Greens, up 1-0 over the Oakleigh Cannons. And just looking at the Oakleigh Cannons players at the moment, they are just proper deflated at that goal. It's kind of a bit of a run against the play kind of goal, but you got to take your chances in football, and they've done very well to do so. And it's on the attack for the Oakleigh Cannons. And this game isn't over yet, as we've had the other two fixtures that have wrapped up. They're not over yet, and Lopez with a big stretch. And he's just remained on the deck. And maybe it could be time for Chris Taylor, Lockie, to make a fresh and change again. You've got Pachkowski on the bench. Demachi. Maybe it's time to inject one of those two players into the game.
Yeah, maybe even both, Bryce. I think if it wasn't already time at 0-0 for Chris Taylor to make another change, it certainly is now. They did look a bit deflated, as you said, after going behind, and had a chance to look at the replay of that goal, and it was a well-taken finish by Pierce Waring, but got to give some credit where it's due as well to Damien Yakonis. It was he who played the reverse pass, and a very intelligent reverse pass, might I add, to set the Bentleigh Greens number 7 through on goal, who, of course, as you would have just seen on the broadcast, did the rest from there. And he's Waring again. Losing out on that occasion. Tyson Holmes, his diagonal is straight to Corey Sewell. And now the goal scorer Waring turns it halfway with runners ahead. Targiath is the one he picks out. Few step overs before a low ball sent into the area. And a needless foul, and maybe in the eyes of some Bentleigh Greens fans, a pretty minimal foul there from George Lambatarides that gives Oakleigh a free kick deep in their defensive half.
I don't think that was a foul. Look, I think that was some very smart play from Joey Guest. Feeling a bit sorry for George Lambatarides there, and we see Oakleigh turn the ball over quite cheaply. Just watching Pierce Waring before have the ball, basically had Wade Decker just jogging next to him. So I think you've got Diamachi could be a like-and-like replacement for someone like Wade Decker, as we see Bentleigh in the quick transition again. Tangier, chance to run forward. And it's intercepted this time by Joey Knowles doing his defensive duties, and the Bentleigh Greens in no rush to put this one back into play. He's got 7 minutes plus stoppage time remaining, and it will be a substitution for the away side. And as I've just called it, Wade Decker will get replaced early. Ryan Pachkowski will replace him. It'll also be the end of the evening too for number 19, Oakleigh. And he'll be replaced by Anazi. So 2 fresh sets of legs for Chris Taylor's men. 6 minutes plus stoppage time remaining at Kingston Heath. As we see the substitute. playing in front of the away dugout, the Cannons. Joey Gass with a little dink inside the box. It's cleared by the Bentleigh Greens. Not fully just yet. And Tangiath with a heavy touch. Comes central to Tyson Holmes. Goes across to Joey Gass, playing a lot deeper now. The Englishman definitely trying to get involved in the latter stages of this one. And a bit of miscommunication there from the Cannons, and the ball turns over. Tangiath plays forward to the goal scorer in Pierce Waring. He goes wide. Finds O'Conus. He'll head towards the corner flag. And it will be a goal kick.
Something you picked up on before, Bryce. Joe Guest just dropping a little bit deeper to pick up possession. He can be a talismanic figure, I think, at times for the Oakleigh Cannons. You know, when he's on song, the Oakleigh Cannons are usually performing pretty strongly, and I think often a sign of Oakleigh struggling in a game will be Joe Guest dropping deep into midfield to pick up possession, because he gets that sort of idea in his head that, okay, things aren't working, it's time for me to put the team on my back, and that's why he comes deep to pick it up. Whether or not he can do that is another matter altogether, and one of the substitutes will hold that thought as Matt Thurtell brings that one down nicely. Can he grab the equaliser? He can't, because it's yet another strong save from Javi Lopez. It was hit with enough power to have justifiably forced a palm or a spill there, but Lopez using all of his, what I must say is quite a big frame there to keep it behind him and keep it between his arms as opposed to having it spill out. Yeah, one of the substitutes that we didn't get a chance to mention in terms of attacking options is the one who's taken the field, number 99, Achapa Onazi. So a 20s player, 4 goals in 6 games, so not a bad one to utilize as Tyson Holmes tries a bit of invention to get that one goalward bound. I guess when you're in the position that the Oakleigh Cannons are in, you'll try it any which way you can get it, Bryce.
I actually think Tyson Holmes might have been trying to avoid that pass because it was going straight to Matt Thurtell, but unfortunately it did hit his forehead with a rather weak header in the end. But we do see Caniglia trap this one down. A chance to get around the edge and some good defending by the Cannons. Can probably expect a little bit of stoppage time in this one. There has been quite a few stoppages in the second half, so we've got 2.5 minutes plus stoppage time remaining. If you have just joined us, it is 1-0 in favour of the home side, the Bentleigh Greens, with a goal to Pierce Waring. Joey Guest. Caniglia. Finds Waring. Works in with Sewell. And Bentleigh doing very well to lock this one in their corner. Bentleigh in no rush to proceed here, but they do win a corner. It is a pretty good chance to add another to the scoreboard. They're not sending too many numbers forward, so Nick Tolios happy to essentially park the bus, shut up shop, whatever terminology you do like using, as they keep it short in the corner. Waring rides a few challenges, happy to keep it in the corner. Knowles. Iconis in the challenge as well. Waring. Lays off to Iconis. Pachkowski coming in to apply some pressure. And a very risky challenge from Foschini. Finds Iconis in space, and it's not the most exciting football to watch at the moment. I'm not going to lie, Lockie, but it's being effective for Bentleigh.
Yeah, Nick Cholios perhaps just sensing or realising how long it's been between drinks where 3 points are concerned for the Greens, and happy to go for the time wasting early. You can rest assured though, Bryce, that Oakleigh, whenever they do have the chance to bring it forward, will keep on going until the final whistle. They're not unused to getting late winners and late equalisers, Chris Taylor's side. And they'll be certainly rolling the dice and trying for one here. It's Pachkowski. Chest down to Hamish Miller, who goes on a gallivanting run down the left. Such a fascinating player to watch, Hamish Miller. Whenever he runs forward, looks like at any point he could lose the ball, but sometimes he ends up confusing the defenders who are marking him and steals through on goal. But here's Tom Matthews sending one over the top. Not finding a teammate though. And Lambatarides evading the challenge of Joe Knowles, but he is back with Oakleigh. That's a nice pass for Achapa Anazi, who turns onto his right, fires one off low. And Javi Lopez did enough. And Bentleigh clear their lines. Another good chance. That time falling to the substitute, Achapa Anazi, who for a youngster showed a pretty decent amount of composure there to cut onto his opposite foot and get the shot. As the Bentleigh Greens line up their third and final change. It'll be Damien Yakonis, who set up Pierce Waring's goal in this game, the only goal of the contest, making way. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this will be a league debut, in Bentleigh Greens colours at least, for Ryan Losty. An off-season signing from the Eastern Lions. He spent a number of years there, a former Greens junior, returning to the club and finally returning from injury. As that long throw comes to Nort. Javi Lopez, quick to hit the deck, with stoppage time in mind.
The Bentleigh Greens definitely slowing this down. Not too much stoppage time remaining at Kingston Heath. Feely with possibly the last chance of the game to send this one forward. Pachkowski. Zanazi. Ball quickly into play in the Tyson Holmes feet. Forced to go back to Matthews. Sends the ball long into the 18-yard box. Finds Pachkowski. The chest of Joey Guest. Comes back to Miller. He puts a ball in and it will go safely and calmly into the hands of Xavier Lopez. And he'll send this one long into the night sky. Caniglia takes the final touch on that one. All eyes on Alex Leader. You see Sewell try and clear this one. Losty, send this one's long. Waring, still working. Pachkowski. And shouts of handball from the Bentleigh fans, but it's a free kick in favour of the Oakleigh Cannons, and surely the last chance of the game as they send everyone forward for this one. Tyson Holmes on the free kick. And there's plenty of options on both his right and his left for Tyson Holmes. What option does he go with? There's a lot of movement in front of Xavier Lopez. He goes direct. It's cleared by Bentleigh. Foschini with a strike and a corner, and has to be the final chance of the game. The Bentleigh fans playing with Alex Leader to blow his whistle. Everybody up for the Oakleigh Cannons. As Joey Guess whipped this one into the near post. Finds ahead of the goalkeeper. Would have been a rare goal. And that is full time at Kingston Heath to the cheers of the Bentleigh Greens fans. 1-0. Courtesy of a Pierce Waring goal over the Oakleigh Cannons in a great round 8 fixture.
By a matter of millimetres, the Bentleigh Greens hold on to the 3 points. Nick Feely rising out of the air. Usually he does that to catch the ball, but on that occasion, getting his header on target, nearly getting himself a goal. A goalkeeper equaliser in stoppage time would have been the most NPL Victoria thing ever, but alas, it wasn't to be for Chris Taylor and the Oakleigh Cannons, as the Bentleigh Greens maybe rode their chances in the first half, coughed up a few too many to Oakleigh, including a penalty shout that went unrewarded by Alex Lieber for Tom Matthews. But they did hold firm in the opening 45 and continued to build on things in the second and open eventually, finding the opener through a patch of play that we didn't necessarily expect it to come through. It wasn't in transition, it wasn't a sweeping move, it was just a lovely bit of brilliance, the reverse pass from Alex Cornelia and a beautiful finish to the match from Pierce Waring, which ended up being the difference here at Kingston Heath. Certainly Oakleigh will feel a little bit hard done by, but for the Bentleigh Greens, that is a massive win for Nick Tolios and his men. We've made so much of their humdrum start to the season. Of course, they've been missing so many players, and the big question around them has been when those players start to filter back in. Will they start to put together results? Will they start to raise their performances? And the last 2 weeks, we've seen players filter back in. Lambatterides, Sewell returning from suspension. Losty coming off the bench today. These players are starting to filter back in, and Bentleigh, in the past 2 weeks, I think it's fair to say, Bryce, are improving.
There's plenty more action on the way tomorrow afternoon. Eastern Lions, they host the Heidelberg United. South Melbourne at 5 o'clock host St Albans, and Dandenong Thunder at 7 p.m. at George Andrews Reserve take on Hume City. Bryce Ruthven, Lockie Flanagan taking you through this round 8 action from Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. We'll catch you again next weekend for NPL Victoria action.